What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Gear Garden. This week we are going to be talking about the Durston X-Mid 1. What's up, guys? Thanks again for tuning into the Gear Garden. Like I said, we're going to be talking about the Durston X-Mid 1. This tent comes in at a nice price of $240, which is really affordable for a tent this ultralight, coming in at 28 ounces without the stakes, 30.8 ounces with the stakes. It's a super simple pitch. It only requires 4 stakes at minimum, 2 trekking poles, which most cases, if you are backpacking, you will use trekking poles, and if not, you can't use the tent without them, so you might as well get used to getting them. I prefer to set the tent up with 6 stakes because I have my 4 that I need, and then 1 on each vestibule, so it's staked out properly and it's got more tension on the fly, which is a good thing because then rain or snow, sleet, whatever can just come right off. I can do one-handed zippers. Makes it all the better for me to get in and out of. This tent is 90 inches in length and 32 wide inside, which top to bottom, it's flush, so it's 32 top, 32 bottom. My Big Agnes tent, for example, is 38 at the top and 28 at the bottom, so it tapers. I do kind of like that this is straight up and down because you kind of have to understand that you're dealing with the room you have. You don't have extra up here and down here. It's just nice straightforward. The peak of the tent is 46 inches in height, but I will say it's not exactly 46 open inches of height. It's definitely, because that cool geometry of the tent, it's kind of like you have to maneuver your way up to get that tall. But it is cool because you can sit up fully in the tent without having to worry about hitting your head on the roof. The inner of the tent itself, where you will be sleeping, is 10 square feet. And not to mention, each vestibule is also 10 square feet for a total of 20 square feet for your vestibules, which is massive. So this tent, while it's a one-person tent, gives you so much space and you don't have to worry about any of your stuff getting wet because even though there's not the most room in the tent, you have so much space in your vestibule that it's totally going to be dry. It doesn't matter what condition, unless you're in crazy wind, blowing that right under, I still think that you'll be okay. This tent is made of sil poly, which this particular material has a non-sag formula. Obviously, sil poly can kind of sag over time if you're stuck in super wet weather, but all you do is you can go around to the edges and tighten up the rainfly with the adjustability straps that they have on the corners of each tent. My favorite thing about this tent, let's say compare it to my Gossamer Gear the 2, is that this tent is a double wall. Therefore, I don't have to worry as much about condensation. You still can get condensation, but I don't have to worry about turning and hitting the mesh and then everything's wet because it's mesh. And then on the other side of that mesh is the sil poly fly. Therefore, I won't have to worry about my stuff getting as wet as I would if I was in, say, a single-walled trekking pole tent. Durston does make their Dyneema version, the X-Mid Pro, which is single-wall, so that does come with condensation, but that's just not something I really enjoy, is waking up and wiping the inside of my tent down. As I was saying before, there is 2 vestibules on this tent, which means there's also 2 doors on this tent, which is super uncommon for a one-person tent, but I love that because I like to have the option of going in or out, especially at night, or if I'm in a crowded group of tents or I don't have the most space to get in and out of, I like that I have another option to go the different route. Another really cool thing this tent provides is the fly first option, which for when you're in non-optimal weather or you just want to use the fly as a tarp shelter, you have the option to just set up that tent with the fly. And then you can put your tent together inside the fly and stay dry at the same time, which is awesome. This tent also has really good circulation because of that mesh wall, as well as 2 peak vents that have the option to stay open or closed depending on how much you want to use them. I also really am a big fan of the magnetic door toggles. I really dislike when you have to roll it up and then figure out a way to tie it or fit it through a tiny little loop. This just eliminates everything. It's got a super strong magnet that just sits right on there. I don't have to worry about it coming off. I want to stop this video again real quick to thank some of our sponsors that make this possible. I want to shout out Deliciotes and I want to shout out Flip Fuel. Make sure you go to deliciotes.com and use code GearGarden10. That's GearGarden10 for 10% off of your order at Deliciotes. And go to flipfuel.co and use code GearGarden20, GearGarden20 for 20% off your purchase. Thanks again. Let's get back to the video. All right, some likes I have about this tent. I love that it's ultra light. It only weighs 28 ounces, depending on what stakes you use. Obviously, like I said, can be a little higher, but that's super light. That's less than 2 pounds, which is a huge weight savings and an easy shelter to set up. Again, I also like that it's double wall. I feel like I'm in a regular freestanding tent with it, but I'm not because it's a trekking pole tent. But again, I love the option of not being soaked in condensation in the morning. I also love the space under the vestibules. Like I said before, you have so much room under there. Honestly, if you just use the vestibule itself and got rid of the mesh, you could fit 3 people and sleep under that as a tarp shelter. So it's super versatile, especially for a one-person tent. Some dislikes I have about the Durston. I hate to say it, but I hate the pockets in that tent. Not only are they tiny, they're super small, and you can only get to them from the peak. There's no side, no bottom. It's just the top, and you kind of have to graze the top of the tent to get to it. So I'm not the biggest fan of the pockets myself. It's also not the roomiest tent, but it is expected because the tent is meant for through hiking and being ultralight. So you're not bringing all your gear like I always say before. But I do like having a little more space in my tent. This tent is wider than the previous version. So I'm a big fan that they did make it a little wider because I have broad shoulders. I also don't like the lack of pockets in the tent, and I don't like the design of the pockets and the location. And something else I see a lot of people on the internet say is that it is hard to get your hands on these tents sometimes, especially when everyone in the world knows that they restocked and people grab it and they're gone, and some people have to wait a long time to get it. And that kind of sucks, but at the same time, that's good for him because that means everyone loves your product. Thanks again for watching this video, you guys. I really appreciate the support. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment down below, share this video with your friends. If you like this tent, let me know what you think, or if you have a tent that's similar that you think I should check out, please let me know. Again, thanks for watching. See you next week.